All right, part two of the Illinois Constitution. We start off with the executive branch. The executive branch, which is like the executive branch on the state level, is comparable to what the president does on the federal level. So the executive branch executes and enforces laws. There are 6 officials that are elected by the people. So that's a little bit different in the federal constitution. In the federal government, the president and the vice president are elected, and then they appoint everybody else in the executive branch. In the executive branch at the state level, at Illinois state level, you elect 6 different people: the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, the secretary of state, comptroller, and the treasurer. So what do each of these people do? The governor is, he's like the president of the state. He's responsible for administrating the administration of the executive branch. He appoints administrators and department directors underneath him that are not in elected positions. He also can grant pardons and reprieves, where he shortens somebody's sentence for a crime, or he says that somebody who committed a crime and was found guilty can be let go. He's also the commander-in-chief of the Illinois National Guard. Now, he does have some legislative power too. It means he does have some power in making laws, not just enforcing them. The governor has something called veto power, where he can say, that's not a good law, I want it thrown out. He can also go through individual laws, and he can like eliminate certain lines. So you say, no, this is a good law except for this section of it, and he can cross that out, and then he can approve the rest of the bill. It's a line item veto. And then he also has the state of the state, which is like the State of the Union, and where he like lays out his plans for the next year in Illinois. And he also proposes the budget. Now the lieutenant governor, he performs any duties assigned by the governor, and he's the first in line for secession if the governor dies or is unable to perform his or her duties. The attorney general is like the main lawyer of Illinois. They're the chief legal officer. And so they represent the state and state agencies in court when the state's being sued or the state's pressing charges against somebody. And it is also the chief law enforcement officer. So the attorney general is also in charge of all the cops statewide, and he decides what law enforcement is focusing on and kind of coordinates crime fighting activities. The Secretary of State is the official record keeper of the General Assembly. The General Assembly is like Congress, so it's the legislative branch. So the Secretary of State keeps records of the legislative branch and the executive branch. They also issue driver's license and keeps driver's license records. The comptroller is it's like the bill payer of the state. They go out and they help set financial policies for the state, and they kind of coordinate what the state's spending money on, what we're not spending money on, how much money is in each bank account, and kind of how to distribute that money. This is related to the treasurer. The comptroller generally works closely with the treasurer because the treasurer is the state's banker. They keep and they invest the money that the state receives through taxes. Now, qualifications to be elected to any executive branch, any of those 6 positions we just went over: you need to be at least 25 years old, a U.S. citizen, and you have to be a resident of the state of Illinois for at least 3 years. Now, if something happens to the governor, the line of succession looks like this. The lieutenant governor takes over, then the attorney general, then the secretary of state. The court system, or the judicial system, the judicial branch of the Illinois government, consists of 3 types of courts. You have circuit courts or trial courts. These are kind of like the normal courts you think of. Then you have appellate courts, appeals courts, where you go for appealing your court case. And then you have the Illinois Supreme Court. Qualifications to become an Illinois judge is you have to be a U.S. citizen, you have to be an attorney, licensed to practice law in Illinois, and you have to live in the district or the circuit where you're elected. So let's start at the bottom with the circuit courts. You have Illinois is divided into 22 judicial circuits. Each circuit has a chief justice and circuit judges. Circuit judges are elected and serve 6-year terms. And then those circuit judges appoint associate judges who serve 4-year terms. Currently, there are 865 circuit and associate judges in Illinois. The circuit court is your first appearance. That's where they hear most trials. So if you get a speeding ticket, you're going to go to circuit court. If you get some sort of driving violation, you go to circuit court. If you get arrested for possession, you're going to go to circuit court. If you have get arrested for assault and battery, you go to circuit court. Circuit court's almost always where you start for any sort of criminal felony or misdemeanor. Now the appeals court, or the appellate court, hears appeals from the circuit court. There are 52 appellate judges elected to serve 10-year terms. And what happens is if you lose a court case in circuit court and you want to have it appealed, you say, hey, no. That circuit court, they made a mistake. You can appeal. You can go to appellate court to appeal the case. If you want to challenge the appellate court's decision, then you can go to the the Illinois Supreme Court. The Illinois Supreme Court is made up of 7 judges called justices. Each have a 10-year term. They're elected by people. They hear appeals from the appellate court. They also hear appeals directly from the circuit courts when it involves a death penalty. Article 7 of the Illinois Constitution allows for local governments to exist and cooperate. Municipal governments, local governments. Municipal governments are cities, towns, or villages. They're local districts. They have the ability to make local laws and regulations. So you might live in a town and they say, hey, you know what, if you have a sign advertising a business, it has to be in this certain font and it has to be a certain color. That way all the street signs look the same. That's the way all the advertisements look the same, and we have this nice, pretty uniformity to the town. So a lot of towns aren't like that, and they say, hey, whatever type of sign you want to put up, you can put up. Okay, so local governments hire police, streets, and government facilities. Municipal governments are a subunit of the state government, so the state government supersedes local laws. That means the state government overpowers the local laws.